Good morning, everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma, and this is our daily editorial analysis. Am I clearly visible and audible to everyone? Good morning. Very good morning. Hi, Ragini. Hi, everyone on YouTube. Can you hear and see me clearly, everyone? I'm so sorry for yesterday. I don't know what happened to my internet. I couldn't finish the class, but and then when I went through yesterday's newspaper, I couldn't find something as important as day before yesterday's one. So I have bought the same class repeated today because I had made questions on them. So the same class, vocabulary we've already done. Quickly we'll skim through it or फिर comprehension start करेंगे. So yesterday's articles we're going to take today. That's going to be our agenda. Now, two articles that we're going to take. One is from the Hindu and the other is from the Indian Express. But before we start off with anything, if you're targeting the crash course for CLAT 22, that's going to happen in May. Batch 3 for this crash course has been launched. I'm sure you would not want to be late. इसलिए जल्दी से enroll कर लो so that you don't miss out on very, very important classes. If you are targeting CLAT 23, that's going to be happening in December. Then again, look no further. जल्दी से enroll कर लो इस batch में. One, obviously because I'm going to be teaching in this batch. Two, because आपके पास time बहुत कम बचा है तो जल्दी से enroll कर लो. Three, if you're targeting MHCT, ALAT, SLAT, BLAT, JAMIA, these law entrance examinations, then a separate batch has been launched for it. In fact, that's batch 2 because batch 1 is already over. Batch 2 भी over हो जाएगा तो आप late हो जाओगे and I'm sure you would not want to do that. इसलिए जल्दी जल्दी से enroll कर लो, classes miss करोगे नहीं तो बहुत सारी. So that's about our programs. ओके अब दो आर्टिकल्स लेंगे कल वाला बिकॉज बफर हो गया था वी कुड नॉट डू दी आर्टिकल आज कंटिन्यू करेंगे उसको ठीक है विल टेक आउट द वोकैबुलरी क्योंकि हम कल कर चुके थे उसको क्विकली एक रिवीजन करेंगे इन द एंड टोन ऑफ द ऑथर डिस्कस करेंगे समरी का एक क्वेश्चन आज मैं लेके आई हूं तो समरी आप मुझे ऑप्शंस में बताएंगे and we'll see today's Hindu and Indian Express and we'll see what is important to read from these newspapers. One suggestion, यूक्रेन और रशिया में जो हो रहा है उन पे बहुत सारे एडिटोरियल आर्टिकल्स आ रहे हैं. I would want you only to skim through them because uh, it's sad. What's happening is certainly sad. But from the perspective of our examination, I don't find it extremely important, at least what's going on right now from the last 2-3 days. I don't find it very, very important from the perspective of our examination. Okay, so you can skim through it, don't leave that completely because as a normal citizen of a country and the world, you need to know what's happening around. Not pondering a lot over that. Skim through it, okay? Remember that. All right. So, morning everyone. Exactly, Saki. मैंने इसीलिए वो editorials नहीं ले. कल newspaper में all the editorials. Yesterday तो class खत्म हो गई. नहीं बच्चे कल तो हमने क्लास करी नहीं थी क्योंकि बीच में इंटरनेट स्टार्टेड बफरिंग तो ये कल वाला ही पीपीटी आज मैं लेके आई हूँ जो आज हम कंटिन्यू करेंगे बिकॉज कल के न्यूज़पेपर में सब कुछ इट वाज ऑन द वॉर most of the articles were on the war and they were not important and the articles that I bought which I bought yesterday were more important than the new ones so I'm going to continue with that you have to trust me on that okay oh Vivek that's a good font good morning all right so let's quickly revise the words that we had done jaldi se 2 minute mein revise karenge dead weight, a weight on your shoulders that restricts your movement, that is burdensome on your shoulders. It could be a physical weight, it could be a contextual weight as well, right? But anything that burdens you, it's burdensome is dead weight. The second one is deterrent. Deterrent is something that stops you or discourages you to pursue something is a deterrent. So cameras are a major deterrent to crime. It stops crime, it hinders crime, it discourages people from committing that crime. That's a deterrent. Third word, compliance. To agree or abide by usually rules and regulations. To abide by that is compliance to it. So all imports of timber are in compliance with the regulations. That means they follow these regulations. They abide by the regulations. Okay? All right. Agreed. Whole for deterrent related हो सकता है strained for dead weight yes curtail for deterrent yes obey for compliance yes okay quickly let's move ahead I'm moving faster obviously because these words we had done yesterday's class could not be finished that's why credible is ability or that power, that convincing power somebody has, so that you can trust that person. That thing the person has is the person's credibility. So few people found his story credible. That means it wasn't trustworthy here. So that trustworthiness, ability to be believed, is the credibility of something. And the last one, glass ceiling. I told you it's a ceiling, but it's uh it's an idiom. It's not a literal ceiling, but you can memorize it through the literal glass ceiling. So when you have a glass ceiling, you can see through it, but it will restrict your growth. So usually something that pressurizes or bounds minorities and women from growing or flourishing is a glass ceiling. Slide number 1, we are done with it. Let's move to slide number 2, everyone, very quickly. Reliable is credible, yes. Catalyst is the opposite of deterrent. It's the antonym to deterrent. Okay? Catalyst तो आपको और speed up करता है process को, deterrent आपको रोकता है. ये antonym हो गया. Yes, Anushka. So glass ceiling stops you from breaking the conventional norms. That's the glass ceiling. Breaking the glass ceiling is breaking the conventional norms. Yes. Okay. All right. Next slide, everyone. Slide number 2. Status quo, literally existing state of affairs. अभी क्या condition है? What is the current state? Some people would want to maintain the same status quo for a longer time, same state of affairs for a longer time, because it's in their interest, that status quo. They have vested interest in maintaining the status quo. They want the existing state of affairs to continue as it is because they are interested in it. Maybe they have some benefit coming out of it. That status quo, very, very frequently seen. You need to know this. Offend. Okay, so offend is annoy or upset or make somebody unhappy about something is offend. 17% of viewers said that they had been offended by bad language. Okay, they did not like the bad language here, so they were upset, annoyed, unhappy with it. Okay. Yes, Shivani, of course, yes. Deterrent from glass ceiling certainly is a related one. Absolutely correct. It's a related one. This is slide number 2. Okay, Shirley, this is slide number 2 that you see right now. Okay, offend for pain, injure, displease hoga, bilkul hoga. Absolutely, yes, Ragini, correct. Yes, Ali, you're right. Displease is offend. Yes, it is Shreya. Okay, custodian. So custodian is a person whose responsibility is to protect something. Okay, take care of something is the custodian. So the custodian of pension and insurance funds, this person's responsibility is to protect these. That's why he's called a custodian. Banal, I'll repeat, ghisapita. In Hindi, in English, overused, hackneyed, cliched, boring, not original is banal. So his songs have banal repeated words. Kya naya? So Anumalik songs, they're so overused every time, similar kind of music, similar kind of lyrics. We don't like them. They're not new. So something that's not new and refreshing is banal. We did a lot of synonyms to it yesterday. Presume is like assume. Already, आपने कोई चीज मान ली है based on the probability is presuming or assuming. You consider it to be probably true. That is, you suppose it. That is presume. Slide number 2, a very quick screenshot, everyone. Cliche, yes. Boring, yes. Hackneyed, yes. Defunct, ठीक है, defunct बोल सकते हो. Monotonous, mundane, obsolete, yes. Presume को supposed, exactly. Okay. Next slide, everyone. Platitudinal is a synonym to banal. You are bored of it. That's platitudinal. So repetitive, it's platitudinal. Elusive, rather, is something that's very rare or probably difficult to construe, difficult to understand. It's hidden, is elusive. So elusive, main idea sometimes in the reading comprehensions that you solve. Yeah. Elusive argument in the critical reasoning passages that you solve, because it's hidden, it's difficult to comprehend or construe, is elusive. Success will become ever more elusive. That is difficult to achieve. That's elusive. So we are done with the vocabulary. Shiba, I've repeated yesterday's PPT, bache. I'm going to continue that today because yesterday we could not do any article. Okay? और फिर कल के न्यूज़पेपर में कुछ भी इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं आया था, तो मैंने परसों वाली पीपीटी ही आज कंटिन्यू करी बिकॉज हम उसको नहीं कर पाए थे पूरा, इसीलिए वो वोकैबुलरी सेम है, इसीलिए मैं बहुत स्पीड में कर रही हूँ वोकैबुलरी. ओके, all those people who join me right now. अच्छा, before I start off with the article, since I've got approximately 70-80 people live, आज से 12:30 वाली जो मेरी क्लासेस होती है ऑन द बीबीए चैनल, द बीबीए यूट्यूब चैनल ऑफ बायजूस एग्जाम प्रेप, I am starting with micro presentation, WAT and interview preparation. So if you're sitting for CLAT or any other BB entrance examination, for example CUET या क्राइस्ट का, क्योंकि वो माइक्रो प्रेजेंटेशन, WAT और इंटरव्यूज ऑलमोस्ट सबका पार्ट होता है, तो आज से मैं स्टार्ट कर रही हूँ माइक्रो प्रेजेंटेशन की क्लासेस. सो टुडे, टुमारो एंड डे आफ्टर, 3 days we'll have micro presentation classes. Then next week for 3 days I'll have WAT classes, and then 3 more days I'll have interview classes. Make sure you don't miss out on that, क्योंकि माइक्रो प्रेजेंटेशन एंड WAT सिमिलर होते हैं और वो दोनों आपको हेल्प करेंगे. ठीक है, सो अगर आप SLAT के लिए बैठ रहे हो, मेक श्योर यू डोंट मिस आउट ऑन दैट. इफ यू सिटिंग फॉर एनी बीबी एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन, मेक श्योर यू डोंट मिस आउट ऑन दैट. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द आर्टिकल्स. सो ये आर्टिकल हमने स्टार्ट किया था और इसमें हमने आंसर ऑलरेडी सोशल कॉस्ट डिसाइड कर लिया था और कन्वीनियंट का आंसर भी हमने डिसाइड कर लिया था. I'll give you 1 minute to go through this before I show you the next page and the question. Go through it and send me a done when you're done, and then I'll move you to the next page. Quickly, go ahead everyone. Shruti, I will. Done? ठीक है. All right, let's move to the next page everyone. What video is not working, बच्चे? Ragini, which video isn't working? प्लैटिट्यूडनल, बच्चे मैं हिंदी में समझाती हूँ. प्लैटिट्यूडनल होता है एक ऐसी चीज जो बहुत ही बोरिंग होती है, हर रोज वही 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 चीज रिपीटेड, कुछ नया नहीं है उसमें, वो होता है प्लैटिट्यूडनल. ठीक है, ओके, ऑलराइट, चलिए नेक्स्ट पेज पे चलते हैं. ठीक है, सो this affects the livelihood of major chunk of population dependent on marine life. Read this page and answer what cannot be a problem in handling plastic. When you answer this, the answer could be both A and B, A, B and C, A, B, C, D, all, none of them. It could be anything. Answer this question after reading the page. What cannot be a problem in handling plastic? What's your answer? A? ये कैसे आंसर दे रहे हो? ए सेकंड पैराग्राफ की लास्ट लाइन में नहीं लिखा हुआ क्या ए? ए कैसे आंसर आ रहा है आपका? फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ की लास्ट लाइन, इट सेज ए हाई कॉस्ट is a problem. Why are you answering A? Why are you making such a silly mistake? It's a very factual passage, bache. A is already mentioned. Bache, the question is what cannot be a problem? Let me explain this to you. A lot of you making mistakes. B और C में आंसर आ रहा है, ठीक है. Speed of decomposing. चलिए. Let me show you something. I think you guys did not pay attention to the first page also. Remember, जब मैं आपको क्वेश्चन दे रही हूँ और आपके पास सिर्फ 2 पेजेस हैं, तो आपके आंसर उन दोनों पेजेस से ही आएंगे. आगे ऑथर क्या बोल रहा है उससे हमारा कंसर्न नहीं है, राइट? बिकॉज आपको नहीं पता आगे क्या आने वाला है. तो अभी क्वेश्चन है तो वो इन दोनों पेजेस से ही आंसर होंगे. जल्दी से स्किम करते हैं. प्रॉब्लम्स क्या क्या मेंशन थी इसके अंदर, ठीक है? तो सबसे पहली प्रॉब्लम थी एक्वेटिक इकोसिस्टम पे इंपैक्ट जो होता है. दैट वाज द फर्स्ट प्रॉब्लम दैट रिलेटेड टू प्लास्टिक, ठीक है? दूसरा, it's convenient for us, so we use a lot of plastic, but the time to decompose is high. That was the second, in fact the next two problems. The convenience, so we use a lot of it, but the third problem, the time it takes to decompose. So when you come to this, massive cost involved is written here. Point number 1 is already mentioned. More waste than the amount recycled, we don't know anything about that right now. ठीक है? Speed of decomposing, yes, that's written here. It takes a long time to decompose, and that's why it's a problem for us. Next line. So C is already mentioned. It is a problem in handling plastic. It takes a long time to decompose. C लिखा हुआ है. वापस जाते हैं पैसेज में. Increasing global consumption and low participation in recycling programs have led to more plastic waste. मतलब recycling कम हो रही है, consumption ज्यादा हो रहा है, तो waste भी ज्यादा हो रहा है. Thus, more waste than the amount recycled is also mentioned. B is also mentioned. You missed that out in the first page. Did you? Yes. B is also mentioned. A is also mentioned. C is also mentioned. Let's see about D. Dependency of people on plastic. So when I say it's convenient, can I construe it's about dependency on plastic? A, B, C तीनों mentioned है बच्चे. अभी मैंने आपको बताया. B भी mentioned है. अब D डिस्कस करते हैं. When I say it's convenient for people, can I also say that dependency of people on plastic is higher? Yes. This affects the livelihood, major chunk of population dependent on marine life. ये important नहीं. Consumption externalities more challenging to address. It is difficult to differentiate behavior of consumers. Imposing the cost की बात हो गई है. Last paragraph क्या बोल रहा है? A number of regions across the world have banned plastic. This approach promotes a sustainable environment integrity, equity, saves marine wildlife ecosystem, and so restores soil equality. That means D भी mentioned है. None of the above is going to be our answer here. All of them are issues mentioned by the author here. Yes, exactly, Anushka. Exactly, you're right. Yes, we're talking about the social cost as well. That means it's a dependency. Yes, got that? Answer is none of the above. None. ऐप में आया सबको समझ में? ऐसी मिस्टेक्स मत करो बच्चे. छोटे छोटे पॉइंटर्स मेंशन्ड है. चलो आगे चलते हैं. अब आगे क्या बोलता हूं ऑथर, ठीक है? So, but it also causes inconvenience for consumers, increases substitutional cost, and creates unemployment shock as it affects the production of plastic. ठीक है? So basically, the author says when we ban the production of plastic, there are other impacts that you could see. So, for example, unemployment that could be generated, and then the cost of other things would go up. Why would somebody not use paper bags instead of plastic? Because of cost, because of convenience as well. So the replacement of plastic, which are very low cost, with substitutes result in deadweight loss for the economy. That is, हमारे पास ऐसा substitute है ही नहीं which actually equals or probably is lower in cost than plastic production is. Other key aspects that may be considered for global cooperation are the options if plastics are banned, the effectiveness of imposing tax, and potential problems in both these approaches. So, देखो government बहुत सारा tax earn करती है plastic से, right? So, if it is banned, that uh, tax, that potential tax that you could earn by continuation of plastic, no, you're going to lose on that. So, it is difficult to identify the exact tax to be imposed, which may depend on country-specific circumstances. Now comes the next question. The environment regulation for plastic may include a command and control approach. What is the command and control approach here? What do you think that is? बच्चे without option you get confused. ऑप्शन एलिमिनेट करके आंसर तो निकाल लोगे, बट मेरा जॉब तो आपको रफ एंड टफ बनाना है ना. अगर ऐसा क्वेश्चन आ जाएगा तो क्या करोगे? ऑप्शन अपने आप बनाओ, सोचो. What do you think? I'm not asking for any answers of the options. I'm asking you, what does command and control mean? क्वेश्चन सुनो मेरा बच्चे, क्वेश्चन सुनो. कमांड और कंट्रोल का मतलब क्या है यहाँ? मुझे सिनोनिम नहीं चाहिए फिस्कल का. मुझे सिनोनिम नहीं चाहिए फिस्कल का. टेल मी व्हाट इज द कमांड एंड कंट्रोल अप्रोच हियर. पढ़ो फिर से, बताओ मुझे. ओके तनिष्का, गुड ट्राई. इसमें अनीश कमांड कहाँ है? Where is the command here in your explanation? Yes, Ali, I can see your chats. Okay, all right. Okay, Anish. Command and control is like authoritative approach, top-down management. Yes, absolutely. देखो, simple फंडा है. Command and control. Control भी government ही करेगी. These are the people. This is the government. The government has to control कितना प्लास्टिक अलाउड होता है, और गवर्नमेंट ही कमांड करेगी कि आपको ये प्लास्टिक की जगह you have to use alternate sources or alternate products that are available. So only and only this top-down approach, yes, agreed, has to be implemented if we need to ensure the viability of non-plastic products. Commanding, that is, you want people or you force people to use it and you control how much is to be used and how much is to be allowed. This approach and fiscal reforms like eco taxes or subsidies. अब देखो, क्योंकि हम इस पैसेज में, इस पैराग्राफ में, दोनों में हम इसकी फिस्कल इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की बात कर रहे हैं. फिस्कल इम्प्लीमेंटेशन यहाँ क्या है? The fiscal implementation here is that the government can put penalties on the usage of plastic and the government can provide subsidies to promote non-plastic products as alternatives to plastic. So this is also a form of a control that the government can show here by providing subsidies. आप command भी करोगे, आप control भी करोगे. Similarly, by adding penalties on use of plastic, आप command भी करोगे, आप control भी करोगे. The efficiency of such a regulation depends on its architecture, how well it is planned, designed, and executed. Of course, efficiency of any plan depends on its planning and designing and execution only. It should be credible, transparent, and predictable. That this is my blueprint. This is where I see myself after 20 years. Okay. Now, इसका एक क्वेश्चन नेक्स्ट पेज में आता है टाइटल का. ध्यान रखना, ढंग से पढ़ो. आगे टाइटल का क्वेश्चन है. A tax rate in particular needs to be carefully determined and should work as a deterrent. That is, we talked about sin taxes a couple of days back, right? The sin taxes, and the purpose of the sin taxes was to work as a deterrent, and that people don't use these, indulge into these products like cigarettes and alcohol. If the government puts high tax rate on plastic, this will also act as a deterrent and will stop people or deter people from using more of plastic. In general, the rate of tax on plastic should be higher than the cost of compliance. Of course, तभी तो लोग यूज करेंगे दूसरे ऑल्टरनेटिव सोर्सेज. अगर टैक्स कॉस्ट ऑफ कंप्लायंस से कम होगा तो लोग सोचेंगे ठीक है टैक्स पे कर देंगे क्या प्रॉब्लम है. टैक्स हायर होना चाहिए तभी तो वो डेटरेंट की तरह वर्क करेगा. Social cost should be equivalent, sorry, the social cost should be evaluated differently in the local, regional and global context. Now, what was the social cost? The social cost was the impact to the environment, the impact to the marine life, and how much we are using it, our dependability on it. Yes, so for example, I sit here with two medications in my hand. What is it made of? Plastic. It's easy. The doctor would just buy these bottles and put medication in it. It's easy, right? But if the government puts taxes on that, he wouldn't rather buy this, he would buy something else. Ye iska social cost ho gaya, right? And multiple other things. So, while health and hygiene are predominant consideration in the former case, climate change is the predominant consideration in the latter. Which is the latter case here? Which is the latter case the author is referring to here? Which is the latter case? Which is the former one? Which is the latter one? What is it? The former, the latter? The global, yes. So the social and the global, exactly. The global one is the latter one, exactly. You're right. So I can see people are paying attention to it here. So global के sense में climate change. ठीक है? Ideally, eco tax rates on plastic ought to be equal to the marginal social cost arising from a negative. ये important नहीं है, इसको आप skip कर सकते हो. This requires evaluation of damage to the environment based on scientific assessment of the adverse impact on health, environment. देखो प्लास्टिक का आपकी हेल्थ पे भी इम्पैक्ट है, एनवायरमेंट पे भी है, मरीन लाइफ पे भी है, वाटर बॉडीज पे भी है, द फूड दैट यू ईट उस पे भी है, राइट? सो thus the eco tax rate on plastic may thus be fixed commensurate to the marginal cost, marginal social cost. So evaluate. So जितना social cost लग रहा है उसके अकॉर्डिंग आप टैक्स कैलकुलेट करके लगा सकते हो गवर्नमेंट में. ये बेसिक कैलकुलेशन है कि कितना टैक्स होना चाहिए, नॉट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. Thus, comprehensive policy measures against plastic may generally involve three complementary activities. So, what kind of policies do we make? It depends on three activities. First, the removal of existing taxes and subsidies that have a negative environmental impact. I used to provide subsidies to usage of plastic. I have to stop that. The existing taxes need to be stopped and need to be revised according to the social cost. Taking into account the different types or grades of plastic, yes, because then there are some plastic that are decomposable as well. So different grades of plastic, yes, कौन सी ग्रेड की बॉटल्स होती है, कौन सी ग्रेड के ग्लासेस होते हैं, कौन सी ग्रेड की स्ट्रॉज होती है, सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक है कि नहीं. Working on the grading and restructuring existing taxes in an environment friendly manner. Yes, so stopping the existing one and restructuring the existing one so that new tax rates are implemented. There are some other suggestions too which may be creative as also effective policy solutions to reduce the amount of plastic consumption. These creative ones could be promoting multiple use of plastic through better waste management. So that's exactly why people say don't use single use glasses or single use straws, because you use it only for one time and it creates so much of dirt and so much of plastic waste. So that's one thing that the government can focus on. Now, first, synonym to subsidy here. The public on the harmful use of plastic providing subsidy. Is it funding, granting, both or none? What is the answer here? What's the answer for subsidy synonym? Yeah, that's both. Yes, that's both. Correct. But now let's come to the title of the passage. Choose one. Plastic is harmful, it needs to be tackled. ways to tackle plastic waste, taxes on plastic and its impact, or a world menace, plastic. I'll make the last option better. A world menace, plastic. Okay, what should your answer be? बहुत क्लोज ऑप्शन है, ध्यान से सोचो, बहुत ध्यान से सोचो और फिर आंसर करो टाइटल ऑफ द पैसेज. Okay, B. Okay, C, A, D. All the answers. I've got all the options. Now, let me give you some food for thought here. The food for thought is that, सबसे पहले, when I am supposed to mark a title of the passage, title is always equal to the main idea of the passage. Always. So, you know, in school when we used to choose titles, it used to be very crisp and creative, but that's not what you're supposed to do when you sit for CLAT. The author doesn't want to check your creativity. Option D, bad option. A world menace plastic. Bhaiya, iske baare, how do I know that this title can be fit here in this passage or maybe some other passage as well? It's such a generic title. I am not supposed to use generic titles. I'm supposed to use exactly the one that defines the main purpose, main idea of my passage. D is the wrong answer here. Okay. Now, let's choose between A, B and C. A and B are very close. We have to choose carefully. Let's look at C first. Taxes on plastic and its impact. Taxes is one very important point that's discussed in the last 2 to 3 pages. Yes, but let me ask you a question again. Is the passage written to talk about taxes, or is taxes written to talk about how to handle plastic? Because if taxes is only a way to tackle plastic, then C becomes a subset of A and B. C is only a part of the premise. Many ways: banning single-use plastic, grading plastic, implementing taxes. Taxes is one of the many ways you could use to tackle plastic. C is eliminated as your answer. Yes? So I'm left with A and B. How do I choose between A and B? Now, let's एक बार देखो, ध्यान देना इधर. बहुत सारे लोग मुझसे बोलते हैं, मैम मैं ना 2 क्लोज ऑप्शन में कंफ्यूज होके रह जाता हूं, मैं एलिमिनेट नहीं कर पाता. मैं I understand the passage, but at times I'm unable to differentiate between the close options. What do you do in that case? Understand how I explain the answer to you here. That's exactly what you're supposed to do when you're stuck between 2 options. First, let's understand the difference between A and B, and let's see which one of these two is closest to the passage. The difference between A and B is plastic is harmful, it needs to be tackled. Is it more like a suggestion कि हैंडल करो इसको, टैकल करो इसको क्योंकि ये हार्मफुल है? B is ways to tackle plastic waste. Is the passage written as a suggestion to you कि आपको हैंडल करना चाहिए, या is the passage written to tell you what all are the ways which can be used to tackle plastic? Choose your answer carefully now out of A and B. Answer carefully. Let's see if you get it now. रागिनी, भूमिका, शैली, अब देखो आप सबका आंसर बी क्यों हो गया? बी इसलिए हो गया बिकॉज आपने उस तरीके से नहीं सोचा जिस तरीके से मैंने समझाया आपको. आंसर इसका बी ही है, बट यू हैव टू लर्न. But you have to learn now. I don't know why it started buffering, but now it's fine. ठीक है, आपको समझना पड़ेगा हम कैसे A और B में एलिमिनेट करेंगे. डिफरेंस देखो, स्लाइट डिफरेंस है दोनों में. ठीक है, डिफरेंस देखना सीखो. आफ्टर यू, so now it's fine, Ragini, now it's fine. So after you look at the difference, you see why has the passage been written. Okay, please work on your questions like that. I'm so happy that I could explain it to you of how to eliminate close options. I think I should be bringing more of such main idea and title questions ahead. No glass ceilings were broken to write this. Another one, read the page and tell me what can be inferred from the example. बहुत ध्यान से पढ़ना, tricky है options. Let's see if you can do it. Very good, Saki. Very good, Ali. ऐशान, ये मेरा काम है. नहीं विवेक, आंसर ए नहीं, आंसर बी के बच्चे. कोई बात नहीं, ये पेज पढ़िए, आंसर बताइए मुझे क्या होगा. What can be inferred from the example? Answers. C. Okay. B. C. बच्चे ऐप में मेरा वीडियो अभी भी लैग, अच्छा नहीं अब लैग नहीं कर रहा. C. D. C. B. चलो, let's understand the example. ध्यान से पढ़ना. Okay. A friend recently shared a clip from the animated series Sonic Boom, which features a football game where a character in Heroes is about to kick the ball. She's a female. She's about to kick the ball. It all comes down to this one penalty kick. She says, before kicking the ball, she says, "This is my life." It comes down to the fact कि कैसे ये एक penalty kick मेरा और बाकी women का future determine कर सकता है. Can the young woman break the glass ceiling and prove once and for all that the female can be just as good athlete as males can be? So this example, अभी तक देखो क्या चल रहा है, आगे we don't know, but still now the example says that this kick can actually prove the fact that women can be as good an athlete as males could be. Yes, so they're linking women empowerment to this penalty kick. To this, another character, Knuckles, responds, "You know, Amy, anytime someone calls attention to the breaking of gender roles, I am working. I am probably not sitting at home and taking care of my child. And see, this is women empowerment. The moment I call it out," the author says, the moment you call it out that I am breaking the glass ceiling of gender roles, you are undermining the concept of gender equality. आप जैसे ही pinpoint करते हो, you actually undervalue the equality that's there, and you imply that this is an exception, that see, I can work, I am not sitting at home, I can do this penalty kick, I can make a goal. When you pinpoint it, you show yourself as an exception. When you show yourself as an exception, you are actually undermining the equality here. People would think, "Na, ये तो exception है, सब नहीं कर सकते ऐसा, सब penalty नहीं गोल कर सकते." Thus, ये एक exception है. Now, what can be inferred from this example? Women are equal to men. Yes, A infer कर सकते हैं हम. लेकिन example इसलिए नहीं दिया है that women are equal to men. Example इसलिए दिया because the moment you point it out, you undermine the equality that's already present and you show that this is only an exception. So A could be an inference, but I'll have to look at the other options as well. If I have a better one here, pointing out existing gender discrimination, no, rather there is no gender discrimination according to the second paragraph. Second one supersedes the first paragraph. Second says there is no gender discrimination. When you point it out, that's when you confirm it and you undermine the value of equality. So B is exactly the opposite of what the paragraph says. C says negating gender discrimination is confirming that it is unusual. That's exactly what the second paragraph says. That the moment you negate it, you confirm that this thing is unusual, that is, it's rare. So this penalty was rare. The answer is going to be C, an exact replication of the second paragraph, what the second paragraph says. The answer is C. It is not B. Got that, everyone? The answer is C. All right. Let's move on to the next page. So, Knuckles, a superpowered hedgehog, has given us something to think about the current discourse of a woman's experience of the world. देखो, इस पैसेज में जो लिखा हुआ है ना, ये मेरी आइडियोलॉजी से अलग है. I don't agree to this ideology, but nonetheless, something of this sort can come in the examination, so we could continue reading that. So Knuckles, a superpower hedgehog, has given us something to think about in the current discourse of a woman's experience of the world. How a woman is seen, how a woman is treated in the world, it has changed our viewpoint. About the possibility of living as a woman without proving a point. Can you live as a woman without proving a point? At sea, you don't abide by the gender roles. You could wear anything, you could go out anytime, you could work, you could choose any profession that you want to, like becoming a lawyer. So, you can live in this world without pointing it out. About the interpretation of gender today as a competition between men and women. Whereas the author says there is no competition between men and women. Thus, pointing it out is actually demeaning it. Amy Rose thinks she will accomplish something in relation to men once she scores the penalty kick. She feels accomplished by doing that. But will her achievement mean any less if there wasn't any declaration of breaking the glass ceiling? क्या आया समझ में? यहां फिर से एक्सप्लेन करती हूँ हिंदी में. उसने पेनल्टी किक लगाने से पहले उसको लगा कि अगर मैं ये गोल कर लेती हूँ तो ये मेरे लिए एक अचीवमेंट होगा, ये वुमेन कम्युनिटी के लिए एक अचीवमेंट होगा कि वुमेन भी उतना ही अच्छा फुटबॉल खेल सकती है जितना अच्छा मैन. लेकिन ये बोलना जरूरी नहीं था कि देखो अगर मैं पेनल्टी किक कर लूंगी तो मैं इक्वलिटी लेके आ रही हूँ, मैं रिप्रेजेंट कर रही हूँ वुमेन को कि वुमेन भी उतनी ही अच्छी एथलीट हो सकती है जितने मैन. ये बोलना जरूरी नहीं था, ये डेक्लेरेशन जरूरी नहीं था that see I am going to break the glass ceiling, because a penalty kick is just a penalty kick, be it a man or a woman. So this declaration, according to the author, was not needed. Understood that, everyone? Yes? चलिए आगे. Women tend to view themselves as existing on the spectrum of the two P's, as victims of patriarchy or as privileged. Now, we are victims of patriarchy, we know. But how are we privileged here? And how are we, what is this second P here? Privileged कैसे हैं हम यहाँ? You will explain that to me. What is privileged here? Don't answer the synonym. No, I don't want to know that. Listen to what I'm saying. How are we privileged here? और ये the author says these are the two spectrums that we are existing in. And these two spectrums are two P's. One is a victim of patriarchy or as privileged. What is the privilege that we have here? What is the privilege here? Who's going to answer that? Okay, Tanishka. All right. Privilege होता क्या है? ओके, ये ए बी आंसर कर क्या रहे हो बच्चे? तो मेरा क्वेश्चन सुनो ध्यान से. फीमेल सेंट्रिक लॉस बोल सकते हो आप, ठीक है. यस, रिजर्वेशन बोल सकते हो. ओके, यस ऑफ कोर्स, रिजर्वेशन यस, स्पेशल प्रोटेक्शन यस, और एक सोशल प्रिविलेज भी है. social privilege of not being under the burden of going out and working. ये privilege men को नहीं मिला है society में, ये women को मिला है. ये privilege है that you could just sit back at home. I mean, you just don't sit back at home, but you have the privilege of not being burdened with the purpose of going out and making a living for your family. The societal norm makes this privilege for women. Either you can see yourself as a victim of that patriarchy that you're not allowed to go out and work, or you can see yourself as a privileged one that you don't have to go out and work. Specifically, when the government makes women-centric laws, you are a privileged one. But why are these laws existing? Because there is a victim of patriarchy. So both the things go hand in hand. Patriarchy थी, इसीलिए privilege मिला. They go hand in hand. Yes? Agreed. Now, the two P's become the fundamental facts of a woman's life, seeping through her existence. Of course, life is written with complexities and one can't always fit into these modes. Of course, इन दोनों चीजों में identify करना is actually difficult, but we can start from here and question them if they truly exist. So, the author says, let's question these two things if they exist at all. It is difficult to live with integrity. Okay? If what you think are the fundamental truths of life make you believe that either the world is designed to set you up for failure or privilege as a source of guilt. और देखो पता है क्या होता है? This line is actually a very correctly written one because the privilege that a woman may get, it may be a source of guilt for people as well. Yes? So when you travel in a metro, you may see women not taking up the women's seat because it's the guilt in their mind. Yes? Even so, there's a third mode of existence, albeit elusive. So the author says only these two P's are not the only two modes. There's a third mode, which is a hidden one. Okay, what is this third mode? This mode cannot be found on the internet, in opinion pieces or books. So it's a hidden one. Which is the third mode here? It is definitely not a prescription and needs to be built by individual with deliberation. Again, what is this third mode, which is the hidden one? In the current conversation, you are either a feminist or an anti-feminist. The third mode क्या है? Somewhere in between. A feminist who believes in equality between men and women. Anti-feminist who believes no, one is superior, the other is inferior. But क्या इसके बीच का एक रास्ता निकल सकता है एक feminist और एक anti-feminist का? Can you be somebody who's somewhere in between both? Yes, that's what the author is. There is little space for someone in the middle. If non-allegiance to the movement is admitted, it will likely to be at the risk of offending the custodian of women's rights. So, movement hai feminism. If you say, no, I don't follow that, women's rights and the custodians of women's rights are going to make your life hell. Agreed. And acknowledging the contemporary wisdom has become stale and platitudinal is the first step in changing it. That is, we don't necessarily have to fall into either of these sides. Being a feminist or anti-feminist, you could be somewhere in between. You could say, okay, मेरे हिसाब से सब normal है. I don't take sides. You could be one of those people. Yes? Agreed. Correct. So, to take an example, one often reads about the underrepresentation of women in top position in white-collar spaces. देखो, I'll tell you, मैं थोड़ा नहीं बहुत ज़्यादा disagree करती हूँ with the opinion the author has mentioned here, but nonetheless, that is not the concern. The concern is the author's opinion only. So the author says, people complain, why are so many CEOs not present? Why is the number of women so less in the top positions of the companies? But the author says, why so much importance is given to promotion? Has ambition become so banal and generic? Another hand-me-down idea क्या रहेगी? Ambition, आप में शायद ambition की कमी है, इसीलिए आप उस position पे नहीं हो. Is there no other meaning in working? Is it only reaching the top position that you're working for? Are you not working for anything else? Those who agree that the discourse needs renewal can start by re-examining their goals and ambitions. See if your goals are correct. See if your ambitions are correct. Do you actually want to become a CEO? If you don't want to become a CEO ever, then you can't be complaining about not ample number of women becoming CEOs. There are some questions that may be asked. For instance, should one presume their birth into a patriarchal setup? Is it possible that certain settings are genuinely not patriarchal? Has life been fair? Is that enough? What is the ideal scenario for women? And is it ideal for you now? These questions remain unanswered in the end by the author. So it's an open ended passage. Tone of the author, everyone. What is the tone? Saki, that's exactly why I disagree with the idea. What is the tone? Exactly. Feminist means equality. Tone. What's the tone here, everyone? Could be Divjot, yes. Critical, argumentative, rather. I would agree with you, Harsh. Argumentative. Agreed? Please don't fight over this. Please don't fight over it. Okay? It's argumentative. All right, now let me repeat this at 12:30 on the BBA YouTube channel. I'll be taking micro presentation classes from today. If you're sitting for any BBA entrance exam or if you're sitting for CLAT, you need to attend those classes. I'm sharing today's Hindu and Indian Express in the background. Let's see what's important that we need to read today and what is that we can leave. A second, please. Okay, here we go. Hindu and Express. All right, here we go. It breaks my heart to read this. Here we are. First page. Yes, please read this. Very important. A breath of fresh air with the whole war's news. ये सिर्फ आपको skim करना है. Read this. Only skim. Only skim. No, read that in detail. Read this in skim. Leave this. यूपी इलेक्शन को हाईजैक कर लिया पुतिन ने. नहीं बच्चे, एक्सप्लेनेटरी नहीं होगा. नो नो नो, नॉट एट ऑल. देखते हैं. अच्छा, टेक्स्ट एंड कॉन्टेक्स्ट. सॉरी, आई फॉरगॉट दैट. हाँ, टेक्स्ट एंड कॉन्टेक्स्ट. सॉरी, टेक्स्ट एंड कॉन्टेक्स्ट. किम. किम. अगर आपको नहीं पता है तो अबाउट द मणिपुर इंसर्जेंसी तो पढ़ लेना इसको डिटेल में. द लास्ट वन. Yes, yes. I think I will take it tomorrow. बहुत टाइम से जीनोलॉजी पे कुछ नहीं आया. I will take it tomorrow. Opinions. Okay. So Silver Line project makes sense for Kerala. Skim. Economic recovery. Skim. Kim. Kim. ये इंपॉर्टेंट है, डिटेल में पढ़ना. Kim. Yes. This is very very important. इसको पढ़ लेना. Skim. That's all. That's all from today's newspapers, everyone. So I shall see you at 12:30, everybody. Have a very good day. God bless all of you. Bye, everyone.